As we mentioned, chaos unfolded at the international airport in Kabul, Afghanistan, Monday, one day after Taliban insurgents seized control of the city. Crowds of Afghans hoping to flee the country descended on the tarmac, clinging onto the outside of planes as they took off. At least 8 Afghans were reportedly killed. According to the Wall Street Journal, without a functioning local government, quote, the airport has become a focal point for security as the U.S. tries to restore order there amid the worsening situation. Gordon Lubold joins me now with more on his reporting. He covers the White House, national security, and the Pentagon for the Wall Street Journal. Gordon, welcome. Thanks very much for being with us. These scenes that we have been seeing at the airport in Kabul, what do they tell us about the plan, or lack of a plan, some might argue, to evacuate both Americans and those Afghans who assisted American forces out of the country?
Sure. I think you're seeing kind of the culmination or the tragic results of an internal debate within the administration about how quickly to remove some of the American personnel at the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, as well as the Afghans, who assisted the U.S. over the years, whether they be government, media, or otherwise. Essentially, somebody made a decision somewhere along the line to wait too long at the same time as the Afghan security forces, essentially just melted away immediately, much faster than even the intelligence community, the American intelligence community, the military, and policymakers had predicted. And so these two dynamics formed this kind of these tragic images that we're seeing today.
Gordon, can you talk about tactically why we saw so many districts in Afghanistan fall to the Taliban with seemingly little resistance from Afghan government forces? I've been reading various accounts who talk about negotiations that may have happened with lower-ranking Afghan officials and tribal elders and elements of the Taliban, as it was known that the American forces were going to pull out, and this significantly weakened, any kind of resistance that might have been encountered by the Taliban. What can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, you're seeing now clearly a blame game. You may be aware of the president's remarks earlier, and the State Department, the Defense Department have been briefing the last several days as well. There's a lot of finger pointing from Washington to the Kabul government, or the former Kabul government, which really had not made up its mind over the last several months about a strategy to confront the Taliban where and when across the country. And so the districts you saw fall earlier on, and some of them were already falling prior to President Biden's announcement in April, and then a more precipitous fall of many more districts, and then ultimately the provincial capitals since then. But the Kabul government, the Afghani government, could not seem to agree on how much it should defend all its territory versus defending more strategic territories, strategic cities, districts, and provincial capitals. And so that delay did contribute, I think, significantly to the delay in the Afghan security forces being able to get a handle on where it would fight and where it would defend, and thus contributed in part to the delay in effectively confronting the Taliban in some of these critical cities.
Gordon, can you talk about what kind of training these Afghan forces received with the help of U.S. forces over the years?
Right. I mean, the Afghan security forces, were mothered and fathered by, largely the U.S. Military for all these years, billions and billions of dollars spent. These were Afghan forces that were, attempted to be molded in the spirit of the American military, which I think, as we look back at this and try to understand it better, will be seen as a fundamental strategic mistake by the U.S. But there were reasons for some people to be positive about what training the Afghan military had received, particularly the Afghan commandos and the Afghan Air Force, both propped up by the U.S. military and their training and some of their sustainment and all the stuff that they really needed to rely on. But they were seen as, success stories, relative success stories. Other forces, not so much.
All right, just a dire situation, as we've been saying. Gordon Lubold for us. Gordon, thank you very much.
Thank you.